What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to check it out. Gang Up, a criminally fun card game from Hot Games. This is for 3 to 5 players, take about 30 to 60 minutes to play, and it's for ages 12 plus. And Gang Up is a light take that game in which you are going to be controlling gangsters trying to complete various different crimes in order to gain influence. Everything in this card is going to have its own unique special ability, from the influence cards you will play to the gangsters, though. Lots of cool stuff going on, but does it come together to make a cohesive package? So let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Gang Up. So first and foremost, we're going to handy dandy rule sheet. One page, a whole lot of text, couple pictures and illustrations. The backside is just a different language, and it's a pretty well done rule booklet. It will have you up and running pretty smoothly. I wish they had a little bit more information about how some of the various different cards work, but it is well enough done that it should have you up and running pretty quickly. So in Gang Up, you are going to be keeping track of your status right here. The first person to get to 20 status or more is going to win the game. I'm using this little coffin to keep track of status. They don't actually give you anything to keep track of it. It's something that I did want to note. So in this game, you are going to be playing gangsters down in front of you, mobsters down in front of you in your headquarters, and then trying to complete various different missions, different crime cards. Along the way, you're going to have a whole bunch of different resource cards that'll have all sorts of various different effects. They can help you, they can hurt other people, they can get you gangsters, they can get you influence, lots of various different things that you will be able to do. I'll show you how that works later. So, go over the components, then we'll get a little bit into the gameplay. So first and foremost, we got this little handy-dandy cheat sheet card. There's only one, which is really kind of odd. Normally, this sort of thing, you'd think they'd have 5, since there's goes up to 5 players, but there's 1, so I guess you just keep it in the middle of the table. It's not a huge deal, but it is something that is kind of annoying. Next, you're going to have resource cards. And there's going to be 2 kinds of resource cards. You're going to have gangsters, which will look like this. Then you're going to have influence. So let's take a look at gangsters first. Up here in the top left-hand corner, it's going to tell you that you need to have at least 1 influence to put this gangster into your headquarters. Right now, we have 5 influence. Now, this isn't going to cost you an influence to put it into your headquarters. You just have to have at least 1 so that this gangster respects you enough to come in there. Also, at the bottom, every single gangster is going to have their own unique special ability. So Tricky Tracy is going to give you plus 1 influence for every successful, fraud crime you commit, because there's 4 different kinds of crimes. There's the money crimes, the fraud crimes, the gambling crimes, the robbery crimes, and the trafficking crimes. So 1 in 4 times, she's going to help you gain more influence, which is always a good thing. This is your headquarters right down here. Each of these gangsters is also going to be worth 1 manpower. That doesn't mean much to you now, but I'll tell you what that means in a second. Next, you're going to have a bunch of influence cards that will look something like that. These are also going to be pretty self-explanatory, with the upper left-hand corner telling you how much influence you have to have in order to play this. Right now we have 5 influence, so I could not play any of these 3 cards. However, I could play one of these cards right here. So let's take a look at what one of them does. A gangster requires 3 less to be played and kept in play while in your gang. So that's a pretty good card right there. You could put a more powerful gangster into your headquarters at the beginning of the game, which can hopefully give you a jump start. Let's see, Police Preserve. This is going to give you plus 3 required for this crime. This is manpower, so plus 3 manpower required for the crime. And once again, I'll talk about manpower a little bit later. Force up to 3 gangsters from one another gang to join a crime. So this one will kind of make it so that other people's gangsters will join your crime, which is going to help you and also put their gangsters at risk, because police can come and people can get jailed, people can get shot, all sorts of mobstery type of things. So those are going to be your resource cards. They're either going to be gangsters or they're going to be these green cards right here. Now, the last kind of cards you're going to see are going to be these crime cards right here. And these are how you are going to gain influence throughout the game. So, during the game, you'll have an option each and every turn to flip over one of these crime cards and potentially attempt the crime. And how to commit the crime is you're going to have at least 8 manpower with your people and potentially 1 other ally. You can only have 1 other ally. You would team up, you'd put your gangsters to the crime, and if you succeed, you will get a reward and you'll also gain plus 3 influence. Both players will. So helping other people is really beneficial in this game. Draw 3 resource cards when the crime is successful. So if you were able to do the big drink, you would get +3 influence and +3 cards, but an ally would also gain that if you brought them in on the mission. Now, if you fail it, you get -3, and some of them actually have bad stuff that will happen to you. So let's run you through a mock turn, and you'll see exactly how the game is going to work. So on your turn, you should start the game with 6 cards. So boop, just like that. First thing you're going to do is do what's called the draw phase. You're going to take a resource card from the top. Next thing you do is the gangster phase. You can play as many of the gangsters as you can down here if you would like to. So I can play Tricky Tracy down here. I cannot play OFC Wachowski. However, once during the gangster phase, you can do something called Switch-a-Snitch, which allows you to take one of your gangsters and replace them with one of the gangsters that are in jail. I haven't actually mentioned these cards out here, but at the beginning of each game, you are going to form a jail. And the jail is going to start with some very weak gangsters that will be between 1 and 5 influence. You'll have as many gangsters out here as you have players in the game. And once during your turn, you'll be able to switch a snitch, which means you can get rid of one of your more high-powered gangsters and get one of the lower powered gangsters that you actually will be able to play and commit crimes with. So I might go ahead and do that right here. Now this is really interesting because it kind of works itself as this little bank, and it's like, oh, I really don't want to give up this guy because he's a really cool special ability, but I can't play his special ability for a couple more turns because I need to gain more influence. It's got a nice little ebb and flow going on there. So you can switch a snitch, you can lay down gangsters, and then you have 2 options. You can either go to the crime phase or you can end your turn. If you end your turn, very simple, you just draw a resource card. If you go to the crime phase, you are going to have an organizing the crime phase, which means you're going to draw the top card of this deck. So this is White Christmas. It's going to require 7 manpower, which is a lot. We only have 2 manpower right now because 1, 2, because as we remembered, each of these counts as 1. But if you succeed, draw 2 resource cards when the crime is successful and gain 3 influence. Now, the good thing about taking a risk and taking this crime card is if you know you're going to fail, you can just say, all right, I'm just going to pass, and that will completely end your turn. However, if you want to try and do it, then you can take help from 1 ally around the table, and then you are going to commit as many gangsters as you want to the crime. So if you have, say, 6 gangsters down here, you don't have to commit all 6 of them. You could commit 4, 5, 3, 6, but it does recommend, and I do recommend, especially towards the end of the game, that you commit all your gangsters to a crime, because what is going to happen is once everyone has committed their gangsters to the crime, you count out the manpower, people will be able to play influence cards, which will modify the difficulty of the crime or how your gangsters are out here. They'll do all sorts of Munchkin-esque take that types of things. So what's going to happen is you'll say the crime is in progress, people will be able to play cards on you, you'll be able to play cards, and then once the crime is over, if you've succeeded, you and your ally, if you have one, will gain the reward, and this will get discarded. Or if you have failed, you will suffer the punishment, you'll lose the influence, and then it will go on to the next player's turn. You are going to continue to go until someone reaches 20 points or more of influence, at which point they will be the winner of the game. If more than one person does that at the same time, an ally works with another ally, then both people share the victory together. And that, in a nutshell, is how Gang Up is played. Alrighty then, Gang Up from Hot Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, 3 to 5 players, restricted player count. Also, this is a light take-that style card game, which if you do not take that style card games, this is not going to be your cup of tea. Just plain and simple. It feels a lot like Munchkin. For the better and for the worse, I'll mention that more in the pros. Another comment I have of this game, rule booklet-wise, I wish there was just like a little FAQ that explains some of the gangster cards, because I really like the fact that there's all these unique gangster cards that do different things, but some of them you're like, I think this is how this card works when he gets arrested, or when he gets killed, or when he gets brought into somebody else's crime, and you're just going to have to make some judgment calls from game to game, which is slightly annoying. Component-wise, there's no influence trackers, which is not a huge deal, but it is a minor nitpick. Also, there's only 1 player aid card, which seems really bizarre considering, you know, it's not a solo game. So that's kind of annoying. Any other cons I have of the game? You know, Munchkin cons. You know, light, take that, king of the hill problem, where if you're in first place and you're about to win, boom, you're going to get slapped down. And then the next person who gets in first place and is about to win, boom, they're going to get slapped down. Also, in a 3-player game, it can happen where two people will kind of team up and work together, and the third person will just get absolutely shafted, which is not that fun. I saw it happen. I was the one who got shafted, but I was told later that it was not fun. So that is kind of crummy. And there are some cards in here which are incredibly swingy, like arrest your entire crew. And it's just like, you just took everything from me. What? Yeah, there's some very swingy cards in this game, which some people are really, really going to detest. It didn't bug me as much in this game because it is a light take-that style card game, but for some people, that will really tick them off. Moving on to the pros. I got Gang Up. I tried it out my game night, and we were like, nope, this is not a game night style game for us. We want more strategy, we want more choices, and this game does not give that to you. However, I knew immediately who I was going to be able to play this game with and who would like it, and I was correct. And I'll put it quite simply. If you like Munchkin, or if you have a group that likes Munchkin, this is an easy recommendation because it does a lot of things actually better than Munchkin. So let's talk about what it does better than Munchkin. So first and foremost, 30 to 60 minutes, and once you know what you're doing, it can go by quickly. Now, it can have a little bit of a snowball effect where somebody will get super powerful and then they'll just become unstoppable unless everybody else has the right cards. But it is quicker than Munchkin, which is always a good thing. Also, I really like how the gangster cards work. They have some really cool, unique special abilities, and every gangster feels different. And what I like about that is they tried to put the theme into the game. Each card, what it does, seems somewhat thematic, which is really nice. Now, the theme doesn't come across that much for me personally, but the fact that they put forth effort to do that, I can appreciate. And you look at the card, and you'll just be like, oh yeah, this makes sense that this character would do this thing. I just like when games do that, when they're able to, suspend disbelief for a couple seconds. Now, what else do I like about this game? I really like the Switch-a-Snitch. I think that is a really neat concept, and it has like this little push your luck aspect to the game where it's like, I don't want to get rid of this really good criminal because later in the game he could be super powerful, but I need to get my engine going. I need to get more influence. I need to get more gangsters. So I guess I will switch out this really powerful guy for some weak guy who is in the jail. And then the jail progressively gets more powerful as you progress through the game, and I like that concept a lot. It's just another little concept that makes the game go faster. I also like the fact that you don't get penalized for gambling on getting a crime card. Like, this game wants you to finish it, and I like that. I feel like it's a lot more fast-paced than Munchkin is because of that aspect. You draw a crime card, maybe it's a 6 or a 7, and you have 2, you're like, oh, I passed. My turn is over. I clearly cannot do this, and that's the end of your turn. The only penalty is you don't get to draw a resource card. So I like that. I like the variety of cards. They do lots of different things. And I feel like if this game gets popular, it could be a really cool game. I feel like more cards are only going to be to the benefit of this game. Maybe some more player aids would be great too. It's nice. It's small and compact, which is another good thing. Like Munchkin's got the pretty big size box for what it is. This wastes no space, which is a good thing. And overall, Gang Up, a criminally fun card game I can recommend if you like take that games or if you like Munchkin. It's just that simple. I think this would be a nice compliment to have on your shelf. If not, you can easily steer clear of this one, though. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know if you were a gangster, what would be your area of expertise? For me personally, I feel like I'd be a good money launderer. I could really bounce money from here to there, get rid of the paper trail. I feel like that would be something I would be really good at. And all the time, I kind of daydream about how I could not counterfeit, but launder like $100 million. And I just think about that from time to time. And then my wife's like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, sorry, I was just thinking about laundering money. And she's like, you're so weird. I am kind of weird. But let me know, if you were a gangster in a mob, what do you think would be your ideal role? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.